In my hands right here are 5 of this year's most popular game improvement irons, and in this semi-final we're going to put all 5 of them head to head through their paces on TrackMan, collecting some data sets, talking about feels, talking about looks, talking about the different profiles of golfer that they could be relevant to, as well as objectively working out which 2 should go through to my final and potentially be crowned the best game improvement iron on the market in 2025. Let's get stuck in. Right, before we start hitting shots, a couple of key things I want to call out. First of all, this won't be an in-depth review of all 5 of these irons. There are reviews of most of these irons on my channel already, so if you want to see an in-depth review of any of these irons, please go on my channel and check it out. Instead, what we're going to do is we're going to collect a data set with TrackMan behind us, hit about a dozen or so shots with each iron. I will talk you through subjectively some of my opinions on feels, looks and sounds and the different profile of golfer who may be interested in each of these irons. But when it comes to scoring the irons at the end of the data set, we will go home and objectively look at all of that TrackMan data and compare it to the price point and pick which 2 irons are working their way into my final. Now, the final thing I want to call out is when you look at those data sets, if you see the results a little bit differently than me, that's absolutely fine. I do always present the data set so you can draw your own conclusions, but I will share mine because I'll ultimately be making the decision of which I think is the best iron for 2025. But I want to make sure that different profiles of golfer can look at the data sets and pick out what's important to them. Right, let's set up the test and start with the Callaway Elyte and start collecting those data sets. Now, the first time I tested the Callaway Elyte, I'd describe it as looking a bit more like a player's distance iron with a slightly sleeker profile, but performing like a game improvement iron and being a really nice crossover option for the golfer that maybe wants to grow into a set and the handicap is coming down quite quickly. The one thing I wasn't so sure about is it maybe didn't deliver the same distance as some of the other game improvement irons that we're going to test today, but this is another test round. It'll be interesting to see how it performs today. And the first shot there that we've seen is quite a middled strike, slightly towards the hill, but we've got 109 of ball speed, 156 of carry, spinning at 4,500 on the bottom end of spin rates that I'm expecting to see today, and we're launching at 18, peak height 75 feet, landing at 42. Still getting warmed up, let's see what happens. Lost my balance a little bit on that one, just hit a little bit of a cut out there. 108 of ball speed, 154 carry, 4845 a spin, a little bit better, but it was a little cutty one, launching at 20 degrees, reached that 85 feet of peak height, landing at 45.7. That one's launched really nice, all over the target. We do have the wind howling into us and off the right today on the south coast of England. So we've got TrackMan on normalized, which is what I always try and do here to make sure the videos are consistent from time to time, but it will also impact some of the trajectories that I'm seeing versus the normalized versions that I'm showing you on screen. A little bit better there, up to speed, 80 mile an hour club head speed, 109.6 of ball speed, 158 of carry, 4.5 of spin. Again, I always want to see close to 5,000, but game improvement irons typically spin a little bit less for me, launching at 20 degrees, 85 feet of peak height, landing at 45, off a slightly heeled strike. Wow, that's a golf shot. Best shot I've hit all day by some way. It's fast, it's well struck, it's out the middle, it's 111.8 of ball speed, it's carrying at 160, spinning at 4922, launching at 19 degrees, still reached 88 feet of peak height in the air and landed at 46 degrees. And as you can see, it's just absolutely bullet straight down the middle. That's probably everything that exists in these irons. Like for someone of my level and my ability, that's as flush as I can hit it. That's as good as the numbers are going to be. Oh yeah, there's a golf shot. 79.8 mile an hour club head speed, ball speed 112, 161 of carry, spinning at 4943, 20.6 of launch, 95 feet of peak height, 48 of land angle. So my views today, having hit the shots in it, and obviously we'll look at all the TrackMan data later, still remains a great option for someone who wants that look to look a little bit more player's distancey, an iron they can definitely grow with. Definitely isn't going to be the longest, I don't think, that we see in this test. There'll be a few irons, I think, over the 2 semi-finals that go a little bit longer, but I definitely think it offers a lot of consistency and a good level of forgiveness, and it is a good price point compared to the dearer options that are on the market. Let's move up to the next iron, the Cobra DS Adapt. So the Cobra DS Adapt is not an iron that I've actually tested on the channel this year, but I did test the Dark Speed previous version. This is a really minor improvement on that in this latest release, and I really did like that iron. I thought it was really impressive that despite the fact that just like this one, it had 27 degrees of loft in the 7 iron, it still delivered really good distance and somehow delivered an okay spin rate with a really strong ball flight due to the sort of center of gravity placement, helping it to get in the air. Now, first shot today, we've hit that one 113 mile an hour ball speed, 164 of carry, spinning at 4.45, so it isn't by any means low compared to what we saw with the Elyte, but is low in the general ballpark of what I would like to see, close to that 5,000. Launched at 17 degrees, 77 feet of peak height, landing at 42, off a slightly middled strike. Oh my God, that's a golf shot. That's just a beautiful golf shot. I do feel that 2 or 3 that I've hit with this already have been absolutely fantastic. And that backs it up. Real centered strike, 113 of ball speed, 163 of carry, spinning at 4.8 out of the middle, launching at 17.8, still 83 feet in the air, landing at 44 degrees. And you can see there, even my delivery from my angle of attack is very good, for me anyway. Oh, that's a beaut. It's an absolute beaut. 113.7 of ball speed, 165.5 of carry, spinning at 4.6, launching at 20 degrees, peak height 92 feet, landing at 46, out of a middle strike. Again, just shows you the potential that is in these irons if I do flush it well. 2 in a row. Really good. It's actually jumped up a little bit in height in those last couple as well, and that shows that whilst it's not ballooning up too much, it still can get up there. 113 of ball speed, 163.7 of carry, spinning at 4.8. Again, the last couple out of the middle, very, very similar. 20 degrees of launch, 91 feet of peak height, landing at 46 degrees. They're very good, those last 2. Let's try and get one more good one to finish. Just like that. Still in the air. And it's just come down now. Maybe not as high as the last couple, but definitely good. Yeah, 113 of ball speed, 164 of carry, more heeled strike that time, spinning at 4.5, 4.6, 18.2, 84 feet of peak height and 44 degrees of land angle. So DS Adapt, perfect for the golfer that wants something that looks a little bit different in their golf bag with that slightly different finish that we get on it. Someone who wants the confidence inspiring look that you get from a game improvement iron, a little bit chunkier, a little bit more offset, but someone who maybe needs to get the ball a little bit lower because of those stronger lofts and eke out a little bit more distance. My one concern with this iron, based on what we saw today and what we saw actually with the Elyte, is that spin rate going to be high enough, particularly if you don't strike it out of the middle, which is what the type of golfer that's going to game this might be doing. And if you are someone who already doesn't get the ball in the air enough, I'm thinking there'll be better options in this semi-final for you. Let's move on to them. Right, next up we've got the Mizuno JPX925 Hot Metal. Now, I currently game Mizuno irons, the 923 forged. Big fan of Mizuno, but haven't actually hit this one on the channel either. I've only hit the new version of the Forged and the Hot Metal Pro. So my first time hitting these on camera, and I'll let you know what I think to them as we're hitting some shots. And that one has gone high in the air straight out of the gate. Little bit of a baby draw, just trying to fight back against the wind, but certainly gone high up into the air. 110 of ball speed, 159 of carry, spinning at 4.6, 21 of launch, you can see that there, 93 feet of peak height and 47 of land angle. You can see there actually my angle of attack is 0, so I've contributed to some of that height with a bit of a poor delivery on my part. Let's try and improve that a little bit with these next couple. Just left the face open there and I've hit a little bit of a cut, but it felt very powerful. And it is, like you can see how thin I've struck that. Lucky to catch the face. Talk about forgiveness levels. 113 of ball speed, 161 of carry, spinning at 5.124, still reaching 90 feet in the air, and it's landed at 46.6 degrees. Beauty. Really interesting ball flight, because this one feels like the first one that's launched a little bit lower and just climbed and then come down really slowly, as if there is a bit more spin on it. There actually isn't, because it's only at 4.634. But look at that ball speed there, 114.6, probably the fastest that we've seen so far today. Carrying at 167, launching at 19.4, peak height 93 feet, and landing at 46 degrees. That one is impressive. I like that golf shot. And that one. We have 3 or 4 in a row now. Very, very good. 113.5 of ball speed is outrageously good for me. Carrying at 164.5, spinning at 4.716, launching at 18.5, 87 feet of peak height, landing at 45 degrees off of a really middled strike. Lost my footing a little bit, but it's a great one to finish on with the Mizuno. Look at that, 111 ball speed, 164 carry, spinning at 4.2, a little bit low spinning there, launching at 20 degrees, 87 feet of peak height, 44.5 a land angle. First impressions, surprised at the distance in this. Feels great like you'd expect from a Mizuno, definitely the best feeling of the three that I've hit so far. But really impressed by the all-round performance on this. Would need to go home and dissect the data and see how subtly different it is to those other two irons, but I think it's a little bit better all round. Yeah, look at it go. 109 of ball speed, 156 of carry, 169 total, 4.8 of spin, launching at 20 degrees, peak height 86 feet, landing at 45. I love this iron, I really do. And obviously I'll do my best not to let that subjectivity come out in it, but if I was buying one, I think this would be on my list at the top. 111 of ball speed, 161 of carry, 4.5 of spin, launching at 21. There's the 93 feet of peak height, landing at 47. You're going to be able to stop this iron, there's no doubts about that in my mind. And there's two in a row that I've just gone, see you later, into orbit. It goes high, and I just don't, unless you play a links golf course, in which case this might not be the right iron for you, particularly if you already hit the ball high enough. But this is the one for me that I'm like, it's just so easy to get in the air. 111 of ball speed, 162 of carry, 4.3 of spin, 20.6 of launch, 91 feet of peak height, and landing at 46 degrees. And it feels good too. I think it feels as good as the Mizuno in this part of the test. ZXi4 I think feels a lot better than a lot of its competitors, but in this part of the test, I think the Mizuno and this feel better so far. It's a nice strike that time. It's just a shame I've pulled it a little bit down the right hand side. See there, 109 of ball speed, 158 of carry. Spins a little bit low there at 4.225, launching at 20 degrees, peak height 81 feet, landing at 43. There's the golf shot to finish on. Super high launching. 109 of ball speed, 157 of carry, spinning at 4.430, launching at 20 degrees, 85 feet of peak height, 45 land angle. Still really love this iron. It's certainly not the longest or the fastest in this test, and if that's what you want to maximize is ball speeds and distance, things like the DS Adapt that we've already checked will probably be better for you in this semi-final. But if you want the one that delivers the strongest ball flight and I think gives you the most stopping power, this will be the one that I think comes out on top. Let's finish up with that TaylorMade. Right, last iron of the night. And when I tested this iron before, the thing I remember with it, it was actually really high spinning for a game improvement iron. It wasn't the longest as a result, but it was a really high spinning iron. It therefore could be a great option for someone who struggles to spin their irons. Let's see how it performs today. Wow, super high first shot out the gate. And just like I expected, 110 of ball speed, 157 of carry, the first one that's not gone left, that spun over 5,000 tonight, 5,094 spin rate out of it, and it's launched at 19.5, gone at 86.5 feet. Again, I think I'm seeing the balls, all five of the irons, I'm seeing the ball flight go higher today because it's just rising up in that wind. TrackMan's just normalizing them a little bit lower. But you can see there, good strike, a little bit out towards the toe, but not a bad one for first shot of the day with it. That's two in a row. It's just a shame they're both a little bit right of target. It definitely has a different sound, this one as well. It really sounds dull and low pitched compared to the higher pitched Mizuno and the other three irons that we've tested. The Mizuno feels like at one end really high pitched, quite loud. This feels dull and loud at the other end of the scale, and then the other three in the middle, not a lot in it for me. It also feels very firm, this one. It's a very chunky footprint of an iron. It's almost bordering on that sort of super game improvement category, and as a result it therefore looks quite chunky in its footprint and all those kind of characteristics. That one there, spinning, ball speed 110, carrying at 158, spinning at 4.7, which again is a good number compared to what we've seen today, 20.1 of launch, 87 feet of peak height, 46 of land angle. that felt like I got it out of the meat because it made a slightly higher pitch sound that time than the last two. I've hit all three of them almost onto the same place. They've all been little pulls down the right hand side. So consistency is definitely a strength of that thing 3 shots in. 110 of ball speed, 159 of carry, spinning at 4552, launching at 20 degrees, peak height 86 feet, landing at 45 degrees. Oh, such a good golf shot. It's just all over it. Look at that, 112 of ball speed, 161 of carry, 49 of spin, launching at 20.6, 95 feet of peak height, 47.5. This is the forgiveness machine, the extra spin machine, and the one that is just so easy to pick up and hit. If you need the maximum amount of help out of these 5, this is the one. There we go. I think the wind's just holding that dead straight down the left-hand side, but it's a lovely one to finish on. 109 of ball speed, 154.9 of carry, 4926 of spin, launching at 22.7, 99 feet of peak height, 49 of land angle. So done hitting shots, collecting all of the data sets. First impression of this one in the bay, the high spinning, absolute maximum forgiveness iron in this test. If that's what you're prioritizing, this is what you'll look at. But what we're going to do now is just go home and dissect all of this TrackMan data side by side and give you some final conclusions and pick objectively which two are going to go through to my final. Right, so you've seen me hit the shots. Now let's dissect all that TrackMan data. Now the one thing that I want to call out before I dissect this data is I can't believe just how close these 5 data sets are, and there really isn't a lot between these irons except for the fact that 2 are slightly longer than the others. So it's going to make deciding which 2 irons to put through to the final incredibly difficult for me to decide. And I do think the overarching headline therefore is whichever one of these irons you pick, you can guarantee that you are going to get some really good strong performance that's comparable to anything else that's out on the market. And therefore, although this test is going to be objective, it really is important that you go and test these irons and overlay your own subjectivity to make sure you get the right one for you. Now, stuck on the left-hand side, what you will see is that those smash factors, which is the indication of speed, progress exactly as you would expect. The Callaway Elyte, which is the weakest iron in this test, has a smash factor of 1.39, which is the lowest, and the Cobra DS Adapt with a smash factor of 1.43 is our highest, and that is the strongest loft in this set. When it comes to carry distance, we've got 2 irons, the Cobra DS Adapt and the Mizuno, which are significantly longer than the other irons in this test at 163.1 and 162.9 yards. The other 3 irons are already close at 158.3 or 158.4 yards, and there's therefore almost near identical between those 2 sets of irons. In terms of the consistency, we can see though that the Cobra DS Adapt is more consistent at only 1.8 yards of standard deviation versus that Mizuno in the long distance category, whilst the TaylorMade Qi10 is the best consistency out of the other 3 irons that were in that 158 yard carry category. In terms of spin rates, I was really impressed with the fact that the Cobra DS Adapt and the Mizuno have kept up with the spin rates of the other irons despite the fact they are a little bit longer. Yes, the DS Adapt is the lowest spinning iron, but there isn't a lot in it, only 200 revs between the lowest spinning and the highest spinning irons in this test. In terms of standard deviations, we've got 80 RPM difference between all 5 irons, so I think we can say these are fairly consistent and fairly similar, particularly given the fact that as an 11 handicap golfer, I am the biggest variable throughout this test. Now, when it comes to launch windows, it's probably no surprise to see that the strongest lofted Cobra DS Adapt does deliver the flattest ball flight overall. It's got the lowest launch angle, the lowest peak height, and the lowest land angle. So if you are someone who overly balloons up your golf ball at the moment, maybe you're delivering a really steep sort of slicey shot, you might find this flattens it out a little bit. Equally, if you're someone who struggles to get the ball in the air, then this data set would show you should be looking at the Srixon ZXi4 or the TaylorMade Qi10, because they were the 2 irons that came out with the highest launch angles, the highest peak heights, and the best descent angles. Now, final things I just want to show you is my strike location. Really interesting for me was that the Cobra DS Adapt and the TaylorMade Qi10, I was able to increase my strike location further up the face. I'm normally quite a low on the face ball striker, so that was really interesting for me to see, and that is also prevalent a little bit in the Mizuno set in the middle, and it was quite typical for me with the Callaway Elyte and the Srixon. Just to show you my front-on view of the trajectories, you can just see all 5 of them there. I'd encourage you to pause if this is something you're interested in, but I just wanted to put it up on screen so you could see all 5 shot trajectories. And the final thing I want to show you, and unfortunately TrackMan makes this really hard to show you when there's 5 data sets overlaying each other, is the shot dispersion from the dozen shots I hit with each of these irons. So what I've decided to do is rank them in order of tightness to worst dispersion, so 1 to 5, and the TaylorMade Qi10 is just ahead of the Srixon in terms of the best dispersion dispersion, whilst the two longest irons, the Mizuno and the Cobra, were slightly worse in terms of their dispersion. So if you've got this far in the video, hopefully you can understand this is going to be a really difficult decision for me to make, because subjectively I would buy the Srixon ZXi4 or the Mizuno JPX925 Hot Metal. They're the best two looking irons in this test, they feel the best, and their performance keeps up with the other irons in this test whilst being at similar price points or only marginally more expensive. However, I did promise you an objective video driven by the data and driven by the price points. So the two irons that I've decided to put through to the final are the Cobra DS Adapt and the TaylorMade Qi10. Out of the two long hitting irons in this test, the Cobra DS Adapt kept up with the Mizuno in virtually every single parameter, but it is substantially cheaper. And in terms of the three irons that offered the most control, the TaylorMade Qi10 delivered a very similar ball flight to the Srixon. It matched the carry distance of both the Srixon and the Callaway, and it was so confidence inspiring and easy to hit, and that's exactly what you want out of a game improvement iron. My only criticism of that iron is it is an incredibly chunky profile and doesn't feel as good as something like the Srixon. So if that is important to you and you are happy to pay a little bit more, please do check out that Srixon, because it is my favorite iron out of the 5 in this semi-final. Now, if you've got some value out of this video and you'd like to return the favor, then all you need to do is hit that thumbs up button. That lets YouTube know that golfers just like you may be interested in watching this video. Equally, I'd love to hear from you in the comments section down below. Do you agree with my decision? Do you see it slightly differently? Which one of these irons would you have put through into the final? I'd also love to hear from you if you've got ideas for videos you'd love to see on the channel. This channel is by the average golfer for the average golfer, and that's exactly what @MarionMurphy did. The video you were watching was their request for a game improvement bracket for 2025, and I'd love to make more videos that you guys want to see. Equally, if you're not yet subscribed to the channel and you think you may want to see that second semi-final or the final in the coming weeks, hit that button popping up on screen for you right now, and you'll get notified of all my videos as they land on YouTube every single week. Thank you so much for watching. Have a great day. Goodbye.